Hello, YouTube. It's opening with some lip smacks there. Um, so this is kind of my what third of these little introductions to French spirits. So we've done Calvados, which I think some people are aware of. We've done Armagnac, which is the nerdy little brother to Cognac. I'll do Cognac at some point once can get some cognacs that I actually like, right? But you will notice, like, if you look at the sort of geography of those guys, um, all of that is there's also some whiskeys made, particularly in Brittany in France, which are very good. Um, but all that stuff is happening, in the west of France, right? Sort of not necessarily along the coasts, but pretty dang close along the west. So, are people just not making spirits in the rest of France? That would be weird, right? Because they're making lots of wine. You're probably aware of that, right? So what is the booze that is coming out of the rest of France, particularly like in the east, on the east side of France, right? East Coast, not East Coast because there's no coast there. It's like Germany. Um, it turns out there's another category of French spirits that people just kind of totally forget about, which is Mar. Um, I've got two examples here. They're really hard to get a hold of in the U.S. Both of these are from Burgundy, so Marc de Bourgogne. Um, and so I thought I'd talk about this little category. Mar is made all over France. It's made in Burgundy, but it's also made, in Jura, in Arbois, in Alsace. It's just particularly in the east, but if you go back to the west, you'll also see it there. And it's sort of just one of these little weird unknown spirits categories that I think should get more love. So I'm going to pour some out and so basically what Mar is pomace brandy, right? So it's brandy made from the skins and stems and leftover stuff after you've uh, extracted juice and sort of, if you're making red wine, sort of stewed the juice in the skins, whatever's left after that. And what you're screaming at the screen right now is, wait, I already know what that is. That's grappa. That's grappa. You're just talking about grappa, except it's from France. Yes and no, right? Because so yes, both of those are pomace brandies. But if you go back to the 70s, right, and you walk into a liquor store, you're more likely to find Mar than you are grappa. It was grappa is a little bit of a new thing, at least in the U.S. So there's the big difference, aside from varietals, styles of making the stuff, and like the country it comes from. The big difference between Mar and grappa is most Mar is aged at least 2 years, usually much longer. Um, Alsace and a couple of other exceptions. Alsace Mar tends to be totally unaged. I couldn't get any of that, at least none that was in my budget. Grappa, with a couple of exceptions, is unaged, right? You do see some Riserva Grappa, and I got one here. Um, but on the whole, it's in those little tiny bottles with like the weird shapes and things. So when Grappa, just remember, Grappa came on the scene in the U.S. with the funky bottles and improved production techniques right around the time when clear spirits were the big thing, and kind of knocked Mar out of the field. So this video is kind of an appeal to, hey, maybe let's get some Mar back into consideration. So I only have two Mars here. And I wanted to do a more full episode than that, so I brought along two aged grappa, so-called grappas, let's say. One is, you'll notice there's on a full bottle here. This is the Nardini Grappa Riserva, which is, we had it at tasting a while back, and I made this little sample of it, but we're going to taste it here. I'll give you more information on all these when we get to them. And this, which is a bit of a laugh. This is American Grappa. This is from Fuse Spirits up in Evanston, just north of Chicago. And they did a Grappa too. This is batch one. Let's see. Yeah, batch number one. I'm not sure if you can see that. I believe of one. I don't think they've made any of this since. Which is a little bit of a shame, but we'll get to that in a second. Get these set up for the looking okay for the camera. All right, I'm going to add a little bit of water to these. And literally just like 2 drops for that. These are bottled much stronger than these two, so they're going to get a little more love. Because it doesn't make sense to sort of compare these at, you know, bottling proof. I'm going to try to get them down to around 40, you know, at least comparable. A little more. This guy's going to need a lot more. So let's do like 3 squirts. Give me a second. Oh, a little more. All right, let's get this started. Got 2 Mars here, both from Burgundy. This is the one you're most likely to find. This I've seen this in a bunch of shops actually, pretty recently. This is the Joseph Cartron, Marc de Bourgogne Hors. So without age, but of course it doesn't age. It says 15 years underneath it. Let's see. So this is 45% alcohol, and it's being brought in by the Hardy folks. Hardy is a cognac. It's one of the, you know, among the sort of bigger, smaller cognac makers. Hardy is a pretty good one, if you're in the market for such a thing. And they're bringing in this stuff, so they're on my good side. I believe all this is sourced from Pinot Noir Grappa from Nuits-St, which is in the sort of northern Burgundy. So this is all Pinot Noir based Grappa. I think this is the same, but we'll get to that in a second. Making Grappa from red wine is a little bit of a challenge because, you know, as you know, you're sort of letting the juice stew in the skins when you make red wine for a little while. So there's not a lot for the distiller to work with. Okay, let's get this started. So pomace brandy from France, and in particular Burgundy. Let's go. 15 years old, and obviously not new oak, but French oak. This is a great nose. It's just extremely aromatic. You would never mistake this for a whiskey, let alone like a brandy, for God's sake. It's just a totally. So it's very grapey, but at the same time like earthy, and at the same time floral, all at once. So it's, you know, fresh grapes, raisins, like golden raisins, some like fruit blossoms, but also, you know, like orange blossoms, lemon, not just citrus blossoms though, more than that. But then there's also like a just a kind of a plant root note, like if you had a fern and you just pulled it out of its pot and sort of just smelled the roots, that kind of thing. Like fresh potatoes, like just raw potatoes that you just dug out of the ground. A little topsoil. So kind of remember it's Pinot Noir, so there's a little bit of a Kirsch note. There's a little cherry eau de vie kind of thing going on. Not too much though. It's more like cigars, like Honduran cigars, punches, if you know that brand. Pilsner, but nice Pilsner, like high-end Pilsner. A slight tea note, like just like oolong tea leaves, not the actual tea, just the leaves. Kind of a marzipan note, like candy nuts. Maybe some Turkish delight in there, a little you know, floral candy. This is a nice nose. And if you're looking for a break from, you know, all the other stuff you might be drinking, here it is. I mean, Okay, on the palate. Oh, that's a great finish. Um, it's a terrific melding of like something about this reminds me of Baijiu actually. Weirdly enough, but I mean it's this odd mix of like sweet, not really sweet. This is still pretty dry, but you know like fruity and kind of astringent at the same time. It's really nice. It's like raisins, but you know like and dried cherries. You know golden raisins. Dried apricots, no, fresh apricots too. Kirsch note again, and then on like some tea tannins, like not too strong, like Russian caravan tea tannins or something. Like a little smoky lapsang in there, but it's more like a mix of different teas. But then on top of that, you got some like black Twizzlers going on, not full blown European licorice, but just some Twizzlers that are with some anise in them. hmm The finish is really nice. I mean, you have this sort of uh, blended tea note, orange blossoms all over the place. Um, Kind of like a some prosecco or something like really nice Italian sparkling wines. Is the note that I get. It's kind of fizzy and bubbly. Um, Also some Cointreau, like some triple sec or something, but dry. I love that finish. That fizziness is just lovely. So on my notes here, I've scored this 85. I think I might. I'm going 85 plus. This deserves a little lift. I initially had these two tied actually. No, I like this more. This is 80. This is 85 plus. It's just you know the distillate is just singing a song of root vegetables and um, herbs, sort of married to delicious fruity floral notes, and that just it's wonderful. If you can find this, especially at a decent price, grab it. It's worth it. You do not get a sense of the 15 years old at all. The yolk is very light on this. It kind of comes through in the finish, that sort of tea note. But yeah, so let's move on. This is an oddball. This is an Albert Morot. It's no mark of the particular region, but I believe all of their stuff, their both of these guys are wine producers as well. That's comes with the Mar thing, right? Um, all of their stuff is in the Côte de Nuit, I think. Some correct, and I think all of this is Pinot Noir based. Again, this one is bottled at 41% alcohol. It's being brought in by Chelsea Ventures, which is this odd little importer associated with Flickinger Wines in Chicago, which isn't really a wine store. It's more like a warehouse full of stuff, and you like order from them, and then go pick it up. That's great, especially if you're looking for like older and rarer things. Anyways, I think so there's some affiliation between Chelsea and those guys. And anyways, they're bringing this in. When I ordered this from Flickinger, it was marked in 1997, but it doesn't say that anywhere on here, including on the little import label on the back. It's just they're not saying anything. So I'm going to assume this is not a 1997. On the website, they do say this is aged a minimum of 9 years in new French oak. So let's give it a whirl. Again, 41% alcohol. They're giving you that extra 1%, which I like. I'd love it if it were more, but I'll take what I can get. More restrained, similar but more restrained. This is more on sort of pepper and dried fruit, but it's still got that sort of earthy floral, slightly fruity quality to it. This is more brandy-like than this one. This is more driven by the oak. So again, grapes, raisins, all kinds of raisins, like golden raisins. You got the really nice ones that you pay like, $5 for a little thing. You got the standard sun-kissed ones in there. Also some dried cherries again, like some prunes. It's very dusty. It has like a dusty cellar kind of note. It's not the oak isn't intrusive. This is actually very nicely balanced, but you can tell this has spent some time in barrel. Dusty, dusty wine cellar kind of thing. White pepper, white tea. Actually, still getting the sort of blossoms, fruit blossoms thing, but less. Again, this is more restrained, more oak driven. Kirsch again, potatoes again. It's kind of like flake tobacco, like a Virginia Perique kind of flake thing going on here. So fruity, spicy, that kind of tobacco. Just like old dirt, old tea leaves. Throw some mud onto your tea leaves, that kind of thing. It smells serious. It smells dark and like it's gonna fight crime or something. Okay, let's give it a whirl. Yeah, much more drying, much more tannic, more like traditional brandy, but it still has that fizzy thing, which I love about these pomace brandies. Sort of grapes, but it's like, to cover your grapes in topsoil and mud, again, like I just said on the nose. Some raisins, some chocolate, no, more like okay, so chocolate covered raisins, like Raisinets, but also chocolate covered cherries in there. Kirsch, still, again, always. Fresh roasted coffee. Some like a Vienna roast, French roast kind of coffee. Some like lovely dried fruit kinds of notes, like a mix of dried fruits, some pepper on the finish. Yeah, the tannins are much more serious on this one. Yeah, just a big old bucket of tannins, like wood tannins, but delicious, and still has that with that fizzy thing. Not prosecco this time. It's like, maybe if you soaked your prosecco in like dried fruit and that kind of thing. And black pepper, a little gravel, a little bit of licorice, but actually less so than this one. Let me try this one more time. Again, really serious. Again, really lovely, actually. I could see people liking this one more than this one. I'm going to give this an 85. We got an 85 plus on this. I think it's just down to like, do you prefer sort of distillate-driven spirits or more sort of wood-driven spirits? I'm more on this side of the fence. I'm leaning a little this way, but I could see someone reasonably, preferring this one. Both are very good. Both are worth grabbing if you see them at reasonable prices. Okay, so, but again, I wanted to have more than 2 bottles on this episode, or video. Two episodes? This video. So I decided to bring in some aged grappas to fight it out with the Mars. Start with the Italian. This is from Nardini. The Riserva is apparently an average of 5 years old in Slovenian oak, which is a really interesting kind of oak. You see it a lot in wines from northern Italy, particularly the Piedmont, but it tends to get ignored in spirits, which is a shame because it's worth exploring. Um, Very tight grained, as I remember. So Nardini is a fairly large producer as far as Grappa goes. They have two distilleries. One they make column distilled Grappa. The other they make pot distilled stuff, and then so it's kind of a blended Grappa. They're sort of blending these two distillates together. And we had this at a sort of oddballs kind of tasting a while back. This was right after the Bacanora. Happily, there's more Bacanoras now, and I didn't buy a sort of a, there are more aged Grappas out there, but they tend to be exorbitantly expensive. So I'm just sticking to this one for the time being. On the nose. Oh, and it's 50% ABV, so a little bit stronger than these guys. Totally different nose. More on like sort of grass, actually. It's a very grassy nose. Grass, grape pulp. Kind of a chewing gum, like a used chewing gum kind of note. A little wax in there, like candle wax. Moscato, like good sparkling Moscato, like a Pio Cesare, something like that. Jolly Ranchers, like watermelon, more like the husks of the watermelon than the actual fruit. It's actually very grainy. Something about this reminds me of the Dry Fly wheat whiskey I reviewed like a month ago or something. It has a certain grainy, herbaceous nature to it, even though, pomace brandy. It's like melon, fruit salad, lime zest. It smells very clean. Some white pepper, kind of a slight floral note. There's not quite a. It's not really floral though. It's almost like laundry detergent, but nice laundry detergent, if that makes sense. Okay, on the palate. Ooh, a little awkward. It's weirdly sweet. There's a kind of there's a kind of like sweet and low thing going on here. What is the stuff in sweet and low? Like I don't remember the name, but it's like the little the little pink packets that where you only go for them if there's the Splenda and the other sweeteners are like long gone. A little peppermint, a little slightly herbaceous. Hang on, let me try this again. What is that? Yeah, sweet and low. I don't know if this is dosed or what. It comes across as actually quite a bit sweeter than these guys, and in a way that I'm not super fond of. Some fennel, some kind of garden herbs like basil maybe coming through. A little hint of like Malort, but not too bad. On the back end, again fizzy. And this is really kind of a front end kind of thing. These are a little more sort of mouth coating. This is much more on the front of my mouth. Robitussin, kind of do raisins get moldy? Let's say moldy raisins, something like that. Yeah, it's not, it's refined. I could see people enjoying this, especially as like a digestive or something, but this is not, this is kind of awkward a little bit. Is that? Jesus. Not too bad, but not something I love too much. So I'm gonna give this 80 points, and you know, if you're watching this and you're a fan of Reserva Grappas and you're screaming at me right now, that's very fair. Um, this is just not my favorite thing in the world. Um, I'm sure there are other Reserva Grappas out there, and if you'd like to send me a sample, hey, get in touch. Like I can be paola'd. Please talk to me. Okay, moving on. This is a fun one that I've had in the closet for I don't know years. In any case, Few Distillery in Evanston. I love these guys. They make a terrific rye. They make a bourbon, which is also pretty good, but I'll go with their rye. And they had a cask strength version a couple of years ago, and that's disappeared. But I'm hoping it shows up again because it was killer. Anyways, a couple of years ago, no telling how long ago, but you can see the dust and crap on the front. They made a grappa. I have no details whatsoever on this, aside from the fact that it is bottle 100 of batch number 1, and bottled at 55% alcohol. This was incredibly cheap I don't remember the price point, but it was not very expensive at all. And you know, I have to wonder, like, did they make this as like a joke, or was it like why do they do this, and why did they stop doing this? Because it's not in the range right now. You know, there's an interesting story behind this. I would love to hear. Anyhow, let's give this a whirl. So American Grappa, aged in oak though, which is why it's here, because all of these are oak aged. Okay, tons and tons of American oak to start with, but then there's some like raisin bread coming out here, like toasted raisin bread, a little bit of cinnamon, and it works. It really, really works actually. Yeah, orange blossom, melon, a little sawdust. Just a hair, you know, more sawdusty than I would be comfortable with, but it's not too bad. Like not sawdust, pencil sharpener dust. Like if you opened it up and like a cloud of dust went everywhere. Little grapey, which I like. Little grape coming through. Some cider, like spiced, some spiced cider. Black tea, but it's very light. Some tropical fruit, kiwi, definitely lychee fruit. Cardamom, a little bit of a okay, like both vanilla wafer and ginger snap, but more on the vanilla wafer side of things, and some Oriental tobacco, so that's sort of brighter, more citrusy kind of tobacco. It's a nice nose. It's, you know, it's not super complicated, not a lot of layers here, but I mean, this is real. Oh. Yeah, long finish. Again, you know, you have to like oak. You have to like the American oak. But if you're into this is why I'm excited about like American brandy now, right? Because you have things like this, like these monsters, which are very, very oak driven, but you know, they just have like at their center, the distillate they're working around is just entirely different from like, you know, your normal sort of whiskey grain spirit. Raisin bread, very long finish. Raisin bread, fruit cake, black pepper, lots of black pepper. Jesus, oak tannins, black pepper. Just like a pile on the Christmas spices. Like give me cinnamon, clove, nutmeg. Ooh. It doesn't actually. Let me amend what I said about the finish. It's a very long finish, but it's still pretty short in the mouth. It's more like this guy than this guy than these guys in terms of like how it behaves. It's all kind of. It's not. It's goes further back than this does, but it's still, you know, mostly concentrated at the front of the mouth. Oh, but it just hangs there. Oh, that's nice. Coffee beans, not just unground like chewing coffee beans. Maybe Honduran coffee beans somewhere in Central America. Some waxiness again, a little bit like that. Kind of a like a what is that? Like something smoky, like smoked brisket minus the brisket part, if that makes sense. It just, you know, not hardwood smoked. Like you smoked something. It's just you like smoked grappa. I mean, if you like, for God's sake. Yeah, tropical fruit, lychee fruit, but the black pepper and the tannins are just wrapped right around it. Little pear, little bosque pear, some honey, like just straight up clover honey, simple honey. This is nice. I mean, it's not super refined. Give this one more shot. Not subtle. Not not a lot of layers, but the layers that are there are really nice. Um, Few, if you're watching, you might try making more of this stuff. This is, especially if you know if you can price it sort of where it was. This is kind of righteous. I'm gonna give this 84 points. I'm not gonna go crazy. Not gonna go too crazy, but 84 points, which is more than, you know, one would expect to give an American Grappa or an American Mar for that matter, because this is, I mean, because of the aged nature of this, it has more in common with the Mars than it does with, you know, this than most Grappas, anyways. So, anyways, that's kind of all I got. I mean, the purpose of this episode was just kind of get aged pomace brandy, in particular these guys from France, on the radar, because it's just a great category where there's no discussion of it. I mean, there's a little bit of discussion of Calvados out there, and lots on Armagnac, lots on French whiskey, but, you know, Mar is not getting, you know, nobody is drinking Mar right now. So prices are reasonable, last I checked, on both these guys. Grab them if you see them. And yeah, this is long out of, you know, circulation, but if they ever make it again, grab it. This is actually pretty good. That's all I got. You know, hope you y'all are, I don't know, having a good time. Hope this is educational, and thanks for watching. Cheers.